You are once again welcome to Integrated Science Intervention Program for Senior High Schools. Your topic for today is Variation and Inheritance, and the lesson title is Inheritance of Blood Groups in Humans. I am your facilitator, Gilbert Odey Into. Now let's begin. On your screen, you will see blood. Yes, there is blood there. The importance of blood in the body of humans is to transport substances around. Though basically it is the same, different people have different blood groups. Do you know your blood group? I guess you know. If you don't, you better check, because after the lesson, you'll know the importance of knowing your blood group. In the human population, we have blood groups A, B, AB, and O. For instance, my blood group is AB. Some will have A, others will have B, and others will have O. Now let me ask you a question. Give one reason why people have different blood groups. Yes, your guess is as good as mine. They may have inherited it from their parents, or it is controlled by a specific gene. In this lesson, you will know how the difference come about. For our lesson outcomes, we'll learn to explain the inheritance of various blood groups in humans, and also explain the term blood transfusion and the compatibility between various blood groups in humans. For our lesson outline, we'll be looking at inheritance of various blood groups, and secondly, we'll look at blood transfusion in humans. Now let's go through these keywords that we'll be using in the lesson. We have antigen. Antigen. We have antibody. Antibody. Agglutination. Yes, a big word. Agglutination. We have blood transfusion. We have donor and recipient. Now let's begin. Let's look at the ABO blood group system in humans. The blood groups in humans are controlled by three different alleles. We have allele A, we have allele B, and allele O. Though we have three, each person has two of these three. Alleles A and B are dominant over O. That means if they are there and O is there, they show themselves. Then O is recessive. It means O shows only when it is doubled, that is homozygous, like we studied in our previous lesson. But if it is in presence of other genes, which is A and B, then it will not show. AB together is known as codominance. So when person has both A and B alleles in the body, then it means that person will not have O. Hence, will show the A and B together. A situation where more than two alleles controls a particular character in an organism, it is known as multiple alleles. That is, multiple alleles mean a character that is controlled by more than two alleles. Now, let's see the genotype and phenotypes of human blood groups. Let's come to the table. we have genotypes on one side and phenotypes on the other side. When a person has genotype AA, that person's blood group is A. That means we have homozygous A. There is no O there, so just the A will show. Again, a person may have AO, and since the O is recessive, that person's blood group will be A. Let's go to blood groups B. The B can be controlled by capital B, which is homozygous B, and hence that person's blood group will be B. Or B and O, where the O is recessive and hence that person is also B. Then we have a person with both alleles, which is A and B. And that means that person is codominant to the blood groups, and hence we'll have blood group AB. If the person has OO, which is recessive, since it is homozygous, that person's blood group will show O. So this is how come the various blood groups come about. When they say you are blood group A, your genotype may be AA or AO. When it's B, it may be BO or BB. When it is AB, then it means it is both A and B. And when it is O, it means you have double O. We'll come back to it as we move on. Now let's see how these genes are inherited from parents. For example, if we have two parents, one being heterozygous A and the other being heterozygous B, the possible blood groups of their children they will give birth to will be A, B, AB, or O. Now let's move on to see with genetic cross diagram. First, we have the parental phenotypes, which is blood group A and blood group B. But genotypically, the A is heterozygous and hence will have the gene A and gene O, whilst the one with blood group B will have the gene B and gene O. During the formation of their gametes, like we studied in the previous lesson, the A and O will separate, likewise the B and O, and we put circles around them to show that they are sex cells or gametes, but not genes anymore. Then when we come to crossing them, when the A takes the B of the other parent, we'll have genotype AB. When the A again takes the O of the other parent, we'll have genotype AO. Likewise, the O of the first parent taking the B of the second parent will have BO. Finally, the O of the first parent takes the O of the second parent and it becomes genotype OO. Now let's see the phenotypes of the children. First, we have genotype AB, where the child's blood group will be AB. Second, we have genotype BO. The B is dominant over the O. We realize that O came first before the B, but I wrote the B first because B is dominant over O. That is the reason why the B came first. So this child's blood group will be B. The next is AO. The AO's blood group will be A, and finally we have OO whose blood group will be O. Now let's see another thing when it comes to blood groups in humans. This is antigen. An antigen is a protein substance that is found on the surface of the red blood cells of the blood. The blood we know contains red blood cells. That is why it is red in color. And on the surface of those cells, we have protein chemicals called antigen. In the human blood groups, we have antigens A and B, which are represented by capital letters. This antigens stimulate the production of another chemical called antibodies in the blood serum. The blood serum is the liquid part of the blood where these antibodies are produced. We'll come to antibodies later. Now let's concentrate on the antigen. Let's represent antigen A with a brown triangle and antigen B with a blue triangle. Now let's see the surfaces of the red blood cells. For the red blood cells of blood group A, we see that they have only brown triangles, hence they have antigen A. On the surface of the red blood cells of blood group B, we have only blue triangles and hence they have antigen B. When we come to AB, they have both blue and brown, hence they have both antigens A and antigen B, but O lacks it. So people with blood group O don't have any of the antigens. And the blood groups are named after the kind of antigens they have or not. So since blood group O has none, that is why it is named O. A has only A, so it is named A. B has only B, so it is named B. But AB has both. That is why the name AB. Now let's look at antibodies. Like we said earlier, they are also protein substances which are produced in the blood plasma in response to a particular genotype. That means when a foreign genotype comes there or a foreign antigen comes in, it is produced. In the human blood groups, we have what we call anti-B antibodies, which is represented by a small b, and anti-A antibodies, which is represented by small a. Check, it is the opposite of the antigens. The antigens are capital A and capital B, whilst the antibodies are small a and small b, with the B representing anti-B and A representing anti-A. Now let's look at the blood groups and their antibodies. For example, we have anti-B antibodies, which is represented by small b in the blood serum of people with blood group A. We also have anti-A antibodies, which is represented by small a in the blood serum of people with blood group B. For people with blood group AB, they have none of their antibodies. The reason being, if there is antibody A, then the antigen B will conflict it, and hence there will be a problem. Again, if there is antibody B, then the antigen B will conflict it and there will be a problem. Now let's see blood group O. For blood group O, they have both antibodies A and antibodies B. This is because they lack both antigen, and hence there will be no conflict there with the antibodies. Now with this, let us see the antigens and the antibodies in the blood of humans. Let's come to this table. The first column is blood groups, and blood group A has antigen A and antibody small b. Like we said, they are opposite. People with blood group B have antigen B and antibody A, but those with AB have antigen AB or antigen A and B, but none of the antibodies. Whilst O also lack the antigen A and antigen B, but has both antibodies A and antibodies B. Now let's move on to blood transfusion. What is blood transfusion? It is the transfer of blood from one person to another by a special medical technique. So you should have the technique before you can transfer blood from one person to another. When do you think a person will need blood? It can be after an accident when the person overbleeds, or somebody may be anemic, that is short of blood due to sickness, or even in pregnancies. Now, for a woman to give birth, the hospital will request for blood from the family before birth, because she may lose a lot of blood and transfusion will be done. Now let's come back to transfusion. The person giving out the blood is known as the donor, whilst the one receiving the blood or taking the blood is known as the recipient. For blood transfusion to be possible, the blood groups of the two persons should be known in order to prevent a situation called agglutination. This is when two incompatible blood mix. The red blood cells will stick together or will clump together to prevent flow of blood, and sometimes this is fatal, which may lead to death. Now let's see the compatibility between blood groups in humans when it comes to blood transfusion. We have the table on your screen, and the top part represents the recipient's blood groups, whilst the side represents the donor's blood group. Let's take plus as compatibility and minus as incompatibility. That is, two persons that cannot donate to each other. Before we do this, let's consider the antibodies of the recipient's blood groups, because it is in the body of the recipient that the antibodies work. So for example, blood group A has antibody small b, and hence it is not compatible with antigen B. So let's begin. For a person donating the blood to a blood group A should also have blood group A, so they are compatible, so we put our plus there. When the A person is donating to B, it is impossible because the B's body has anti-A, which is represented by small a. So cannot be possible, agglutination will take place. For AB receives from O because it doesn't have any antibody. Yes, AB is free to receive, selfish group. O cannot receive from any of them, so A cannot donate to O because O has both antibodies A and B. So when A goes in, there will be a problem with the A there. Then we come to blood group B. The B donating to A is impossible because anti-B is in A. B donating to B is possible because it has anti-A, which the B will also be compatible to. AB receives from O because no antibodies. O doesn't because both antibodies are there. AB cannot donate to A because AB contains antigen B, which is not compatible with antigen A. Again, when we come to B, B cannot receive from AB because there is A there which is not compatible with the B antigen. For AB can donate to AB because no antibodies. O cannot receive from them because O has both antibody A and B, which is not compatible with antigen A and B. Then finally, O donates to A because O doesn't have any antigen and can go freely to any blood group. So can also donate to B, can donate to AB, and can donate to itself. Now let's look at the table. If you look at the recipient's side, you will see that the AB has plus, 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 plus. It means it can receive from all blood groups. But when you look at the donor's side, it has minus, 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 apart from AB. This means that people with blood group AB are universal recipients. Yes, the term is universal recipient. That means they can receive from all. Again, when we come to the donor's side, O has plus, 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 plus for all. But if we look at the recipient side, O has minus, 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 except for the O. This means that O blood group is universal donor. It can donate to all blood groups, including itself, but cannot receive from the other blood groups. Now, for summary, we've looked at the ABO blood groups systems in humans and how it is inherited. We've also looked at blood transfusion in humans. For your assignment, work on this question. A woman with blood group O married a man with blood group A. Use genetic cross diagram to confirm if a child born to the couple with blood group B belongs to the man or not. Try your hands on that, and in our next lesson, we'll address it. All too soon, we've come to the end of the lesson. See you another time.